Good evening, team. I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. And today we're going to be making a video format of the weekly watch list video. So we'll go into SPX first, okay? So right now, SPX is currently trading in range right now around that 44.60 level. If you guys recall last week, that 44.65 was our bottom of the weekly range and represented a level that the market wanted to trade and range from. So for this week, based on what I see and analyze, is that the market range for now is between 4,400 and 45.15. So if you guys look at your SPX ranges, those are the weekly ranges that we're going to be studying. Now, the other thing besides that as well is we have a couple of economic details going on. There's no important earnings that we have to be concerned about at this time, but pretty much there's a couple of economic stuff. So the first thing is has to do with the core CPI report. So right now the expectation is that inflation month over month comes in at 0.2%. Okay, so the market is considering that the inflation may drop significantly here because if you look at the overall forecast for the month over month is zero point 0.6 and the previous report was zero point 0.2. So the market expects inflation to slightly rise, okay? Now, they don't expect the month over they don't expect the year over year to also rise as well. Now, the main question is why may the market expect this? It can be due to a variety of factors, but one thing that we do know is that oil has been rising. Okay, so oil has been rising, and this report is based on the previous month's details. Now, oil started to rise. If you look at the pump, I noticed around that time as well. But mainly the news with the OPEC decreasing their output and so forth happened, you know, very recently. So we want to see if the impact of oil pretty much has caused inflation to surge, okay? Because month over month, previous reports suggest it was 0.2%, but now it's 0.6%. So we'll keep an eye out for that. On top of that, on the same day as well, we got some bond auction details, and we're gonna get some details on the federal budget balance. So we want to see how much the Feds are selling bonds, and we're gonna get the details at 2 p.m. So that's one thing you also want to consider. Now, Thursday, we have the core retail sales and the PPIs, as well as the retail sales and the unemployment claims. Okay, there's going to be a interest rate announcement for the European Union, so that will also be an important event happening that day. And Friday, we got the consumer sentiment details. So important to keep an eye out for this. Now, overall, my expectations is because most of the economic events are taking place primarily, in the middle to the end of the week, we may see a lot of chop happen because usually the market's going to be in speculation. So if SPX goes between 4450 and 4400, that's going to be our sideways range. Okay, so you want to keep an eye on this. The market is strong when it breaks above 4470, and most likely we're going to see SPX move towards the upside. So if SPX is under 4450 from Monday till Wednesday before the CPI report, then I would expect sideways trading to happen. If we break below 4400, most likely we're going to test the 200-day MA, and that could possibly happen at 43.45. So there can be a big drop under 4400. You want to keep an eye on that as well because that is a caution range that we see for now. But between 4400 and 4450 is where we see the majority of the chop happening in this market. And 4470 is when the market breaks out. Okay. Now for Tesla, what we see here is that the 200-day MA is at 228, and the 50-day MA is at 242. Now, if we look at Tesla's trading range based on my gamma analysis, we see that most likely Tesla's going to move between 260 and 230. So those are the key premiums going to be looking out for this week. Now, another interesting note here is Tesla got a huge upgrade by one of the key analysts, Adam Jonas. So he gave this a 60% increase from his last upgrade because of the robo taxis. There's been speculation about Tesla's robo taxis, and information has been released about that this week, and they believe that robo taxis can represent a huge premium to the overall Tesla movement. So Tesla, we want to see how strong it opens tomorrow. Okay. The next thing is we're looking at NVIDIA. So NVIDIA here also has a very strong support at around 450. Hard for this stock to break below 450. Every time it touches at 450, this stock tends to pop right off that number. Okay, so if it does ever break 450, watch out. It could probably see a 20-point drop at that specific number. Now, the key ranges that we see for NVIDIA is we see a bottom at 230 and we see a top at 480. Okay, it kind of makes sense because if it does break below that 450, you can certainly see more downside. So keep an eye on that. Now, the next stock we're going to be looking at is Meta. Okay, so Meta last week was actually moving pretty well towards the upside here. So it has been pretty much trading in range as well, but its 200-day is at around 275. Okay, so for this week, we believe that Meta most likely will trade between what was that 290 and 310. Okay, so doesn't seem like there'll be a lot of movement this week, but we'll keep an eye on this to see if the premiums do really elevate over time. And we also added GS to our watch list pretty much because when I was looking at the stocks to study, I've noticed that there's a large range for GS where we see a top at potential at 340 and 310. As an option trader, my priority is to look for the stocks that are going to have immense volatility, because when we do find those volatile stocks, we can have the opportunity to make money off it. So keep an eye on that. For Netflix, we see that the top range is possibly around 460, between 460 and 430 on the downside. Okay, so not really fond of this stock because right now it's at 440. LRCX is one of my other favorites for now because this stock here seems like it may have potential to move towards the upside. So keep an eye on this. It's slightly below its 50-day MA, but we're going to keep an eye on this because when I'm looking at the gamma ranges here, it has the opportunity to really see 690 this week, and currently it's at 660. So there's a 30-point possible upside on the stock, and we'll keep an eye on this for now. Okay, so those are my key plays that I got for now. I do like Tesla because of the news, and I do like LRCX towards the upside. Right now, the key thing that we want to look at is does SPX range between 4,400 and 4,450? If that's the case, there's going to be a lot of chop. If we break below 4,400, we break below our weekly range, which is basically at 4,400, and we can see immense downside where the SPX will may possibly test this 200-day MA, which is located at 43.40. And if SPX remains above 44.70, it's possible that it can see the upside on our top weekly range at 45.15. So it's very possible we can see a retest back to 4,500 in that event. There is a future interest rate announcement happening this month, so it's very likely that the market may pretty much chop here, and we can pretty much see that it's winding up into that interest rate announcement. So keep an eye and stay tuned for more. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to share it in the chat and let's get that money.